Good morning, everyone. Clint McLaughlin here, Midwest Market Management. I've got Riley Sykart on with me here today. It is the second day of June 2026. We're going to hop into U.S. weather from a national yield perspective. Riley, looks to me like we got a lot of moisture coming in the right places, drying out where they want to dry out, and some rather ideal temperatures coming in.
Yeah, definitely getting more favorable growing conditions and weather to help growing conditions than the other way around. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about some potential for drought to be an issue, and then next thing you know, the forecasts have gotten wetter about ever since. So, with that said, let's get into maps and what we're looking at here today. So, first thing I do have updates in planting progress and crop conditions just came out for the first time yesterday. Overall, moral of the story, crops getting in a timely way. Corn's 93% planted compared to a 92 average. You know, areas like Ohio are running behind because they were getting some rains. But other than that, um, even then, talking with guys out there, crops still getting put in the ground. I don't think there's any major concerns for prevent plant issues. So moving over to corn conditions as well. First one that came out. It's really tough to gauge these first reports because they had nothing to base it off of from the week before. So this first corn condition report, 2% lower than last year at this time. It's really tough for me to add much to this, Clint.
Don't put a
2%,
lot of stock into it, to be honest
no,
with you, at this stage of the game.
no, 2% lower than last year is the thought process that comes into my head. But planting progress on beans, very similar, 87% compared to an 80% average. So everybody running close to average or ahead of the game. No prevent plant talks there either. So conditions, 1% lower than last year on beans, 66% compared to a 67 last year. Similar thought. They threw some numbers out there that are a pinch lower than last year across the board, or some areas are better. As a whole, everything's in decent shape to start. Uh, it's not like we saw numbers come out 15% below or 15% above what we've seen in the past. So moving ahead to your actual weather maps, next 1 to 5 days, very similar to what we saw last week. Temperatures in the 70s to 80s pretty much across the board. I don't know if you could make it much more ideal than that as we're looking at the beginning of June. Um, I know for a corn plant, the best temperature you can get is 85 degrees. After that, the plant starts to shut itself down. So seeing temperatures in the low 80s to upper 70s, you can't really ask for much more than that. So 6 to 10 day, same story. Only region that I'm really looking at is Western Kansas, seeing some temperatures staying in the upper 80s to low 90s. But even then, Clint, you and I were just talking about this down there. That's definitely not anything to be too concerned about. So, from a temperature
Yeah.
standpoint, stuff is doing very well, and the forecasts looking forward are very supportive of growth. So, looking at the last 2 weeks of rainfall, last week there's been rain in the Western Belt is the big moral of the story, and taking a lot of wind out of the sails of the markets. Rain in the forecast is not good for the markets. It is good for the farmers trying to grow the crops out there, though. Some rain has definitely helped some guys out. Still some dry areas. We were talking about the drought monitor map last week in northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa. And that's the only region that you can even look at right now and say, okay, they have a bit of a gripe. Um, the
Yeah,
last
and that pattern just continues, Riley, where this moisture's, starting down in the Gulf and pushing its way northeast, and it just seems to stay, the heavy stuff is staying in the Delta and the deep South.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. And if you remember, just 2, 3 weeks ago, the drought monitor map was so red down in the Delta that we were honestly questioning whether they were going to have much of a crop. And I think now they're the opposite side of the spectrum. Clint, you tell me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
they need it to dry out. I mean, I can't speak for everywhere. Again, we get to talking about, isolated areas and, conversations with clients down there. So they're, spread out. But overall, yeah, the theme was we could use a relief from the rain and, give an opportunity for things to dry out a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So, more of the story, still very dry in the west, but they've been getting band-aids on top of the band-aids, and that bullet hole's been slowly starting to fill in. So, what's new? The 1 to 5 day. This forecast has actually gotten wetter and wetter as the days have gone on. The eastern belt, where they can stand to miss some rains, are going to miss some. West, where they still really need rain, inch plus in the forecast in Nebraska, Kansas, some areas of South Dakota, and about half of Iowa and the main areas of Minnesota. So you're talking a huge area of crop production that is getting timely rains to help them out. You can't ask for much more than that. The one area we have mentioned that is dry and they have a bit of a gripe, there is still some chances of rain there. Mounts don't look huge, but a half an inch to an inch still beats a 0 on the scoreboard. So the 1 to 5 day has rain in the forecast. It's definitely keeping guys and content, keeping crops growing. And from a national yield perspective, it's keeping the potential very high. So the 6 to 10 day is just adding on to that fact. More of the same rains that they aren't big barn burners that are 5 inches or 10 inches and really messing with a lot of people and causing replant. 1 to 2 inch rains at a time is on a weekly basis. Can you ask for much more than that, Clint?
No, this is shaping up to be ideal, and what I really love about it is it's commingled with some about ideal temperatures. So, 80 degrees and some rain, like that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, the crops that are in the ground, especially stuff's about ready to establish its permanent root system. Corn's going to really explode over the next 2 weeks. Warm temperatures, some rain in the mix. Stuff's going to be moving along very quickly. So, putting it all together, 1 to 13 day forecast, a lot of color across the board on that map. So, seeing that much rain in the forecast as you're going out into June 15th, mid-June, that really takes a lot of wind out of the sails from the market's perspective, because that tells you a large national yield potential is in play. But at the same time, national yields great for the farmer, good yields are good for the farmer, not good for crop prices. So for every tit, there's the tat. But overall, from weather, rains in the forecast, temperatures are good. Beating the same drum here, but that's all I got today, Clint.
Thanks again, Riley. Looks like we're off to overall a good start. Do realize there's some isolated pockets out there. Talked to some guys in Missouri, still finishing things up down there today. They've had a lot of rain. I know Northern Ohio had some pockets in there that have been pretty tough. So for those of you listening, we don't we recognize the trials are real for those that are in it, but we are trying to keep this from a national yield perspective and trying to give producers the incentive, I guess, if you will, to keep their finger on the trigger when it comes to making good, timely sales here, because at this juncture, still early in the game, we're not looking at any major holes in this game. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, Clint McLaughlin, Riley Sykard, Midwest Market Management. Thanks a lot and have a great day.
This material has been prepared by a sales or trading employee or agent of Midwest Market Management and is in the nature of a solicitation. This material is not a research report prepared by of Midwest Market Management Research Department. By accepting this communication, you agree that you are an experienced user of the futures markets, capable of making independent trading decisions, and agree that you are not and will not rely solely on this communication in making trading decisions. Distribution in some jurisdictions may be prohibited or restricted by law. Persons in possession of this communication indirectly should inform themselves about and observe any such prohibition or restrictions. To the extent that you have received this communication indirectly and solicitations are prohibited in your jurisdiction without registration, the market commentary in this communication should not be considered a solicitation. The risk of loss in trading futures and/or options is substantial, and each investor and/or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated by simulated historical tests of strategies, is not indicative of future results. Trading advice is based on information taken from trades and statistical services and other sources that of Midwest Market Management believes are reliable. We do not guarantee that such information is accurate or complete, and it should not be relied upon as such. Trading advice reflects our good faith judgment at a specific time and is subject to change without notice. There is no guarantee that the advice we give will result in profitable trades.